I never imagined the scandalous secrets of Henry VIII could be this unbelievable. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The clouds hung low, casting shadows on the ancient stones of the castle. Every corner seemed alive with whispers of betrayal and dark desires. My skin prickled as I walked through the grand halls, feeling the weight of centuries pressing against me. Henry VIII wasn't just a king, he was a tempest, a force that shook the very foundation of power and love. 6 wives. 6 tragedies. The air thickened as I pictured Anne Boleyn, her eyes wide with fear as she stared at the executioner. They say the ghost of her restless spirit still seeks justice, or revenge. I could almost feel her spirit writhing, the chill of her sorrow wrapping around me like a shroud, and then, there was the infamous portrait of Henry, a man larger than life, wielding ambition like a sword. His laughter echoed in the dark corners, a chilling reminder of the ruthlessness hiding behind that charming smile. Was love ever real for him, or was it just a game to be played? People spoke in hushed tones about the mysterious death of Jane Seymour. Was she truly the love of his life, or just another pawn in his quest for a male heir? My heart raced at the thought. She had brought him joy, but the moment she gave birth, it all shattered. The king's sorrow turned into a haunting silence. Why did she have to die? And then there was the rumor of the secret of the special elixir, a potion that promised power and immortality, hidden in the depths of the castle. Suddenly, everything felt conspiratorial. My hands trembled at the thought of what people would do for eternal fame. Would they lift a chalice filled with poison just to sit on the throne? The tension curled in my chest, making me gasp for breath that I knew I was dancing too close to the fire. Each detail unraveling deeper conspiracies, pulling me into the depths of madness that marked this royal history. The shadows whispered and I could almost see eyes watching from the corners of the room, alive with secrets. But the most shocking were the claims about an illegitimate child, a boy who was said to be the true heir of Henry's legacy. What if that was true? What if the throne I thought belonged to one ended up with another? My heart pounded in my ears as I tried to push these thoughts out. I was so caught up in the web of this scandal that I almost didn't notice the figure lurking at the end of the corridor. I squinted, my breath hitching in anticipation. Who would dare? My mind raced. An ally? A spy? Or perhaps, the one sent to silence the truth for good? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As I stood frozen, my heartbeat resonating in the cavernous hallway, the figure stepped into the dim light filtering through the high windows. It was a woman, draped in a tattered dark velvet cloak that whispered against the stone floor, her face veiled by shadows. I squinted, desperate to see past the fabric of mystery that cloaked her. Do not be afraid, she sighed, her voice a hushed melody. It was eerily calming, yet it sent shivers down my spine. I am not your enemy. I sensed a fragility in her tone, a vulnerability that drew me in. But trust did not come easily in a world this treacherous. Who are you? I managed to whisper, my throat dry as dust. And what do you know about the child? She hesitated, a flicker of fear dancing across her hidden features. I know more than I dare speak aloud, she confessed. But you must understand, the truth can be as dangerous as the lies woven around it. Her eyes, piercing and earnest, finally broke through the gloom, betraying a pain that spoke volumes. There are those who will stop at nothing to protect their secrets. You tread dangerously close to the edge, she warned, stepping closer. An involuntary protectiveness surged within me, a reflection of her perilous stance. What can I do? I asked, drawn deeper into her haunting reality. Is there a way to uncover the truth without being silenced? Only if you tread carefully. The child, he is not merely an illegitimate boy, he is a symbol of hope for all those oppressed under Henry's rule. Her voice trembled with fervor. There are whispers in the dark. Allies, people who desire change, but they are scattered and afraid. Suddenly the chill of the castle seemed to seep deeper into my bones. And what of the elixir? I dared to question. My mind raced with the terrifying possibilities of its existence. Could it grant power to someone like this child? Her eyes momentarily filled with anguish, as if she had revisited her own nightmares. That elixir, many believe it is a myth, but it was rooted in truth. Henry sought it desperately, his thirst for power consumed him, and those closest to him paid the price. A fierce desire to protect this unseen heir ignited within me. I couldn't help but wonder if I too was becoming caught in a tempest far beyond my understanding. What must I do? I pressed, the stakes growing clearer yet more nebulous. There is a gathering tonight, a chance to seek allies among those whispered to be loyal to the rightful heir. She leaned in closer, urgency thickening her voice. But be cautious. The walls have ears, and loyalty is a fragile thing. That I felt an electric current surge through me as the gravity of the moment crashed down. My heart thudded against my ribcage. I would have to take the risk. I would delve deeper into this world woven with lies and untold truths, and perhaps, just perhaps, unearth the legacy that had been long buried. Just as I opened my mouth to express my resolve, a sudden crash echoed through the corridor. The sound reverberated harshly against the ancient stones, causing a gust of fear to rush through me. The woman's face drained of color, her eyes wide with panic. They know. She grabbed my arm, urgency breaking her usually calm demeanor. We must go now. Her grip sent adrenaline surging through me as I followed her into the twisting passages of the castle, each turn taking us deeper into the heart of danger. Footsteps echoed behind us, shadows flickered against the walls, and I could no longer distinguish between friend and foe. As we hurried into a side corridor, voices erupted around a distant corner, ominously familiar tones breathing life to the horrors of the past, loyalists and guards alike, all searching for answers. For us, what if they catch us? I breathlessly questioned as fear tightened its grip. They cannot know what we seek, she replied, her gaze unwavering even in the shadows. Our hope lies in the unknown, and sometimes what's hidden brings the greatest strength. But even as her words wrapped around me like a fragile comfort, doubt gnawed at my heart. Were we truly on the path towards truth, or careening recklessly into a snare meant to trap the innocent? And just as we reached a hidden alcove, a figure loomed in our path, draped in darkness. I felt my pulse quicken, caught between the promise of hope and the threat of despair. This was the precipice of my journey, the crossroads that would determine the fate not only of a child but perhaps of an entire kingdom. In that moment, uncertainty bled into my veins, and I realized the revelations I sought could unearth horrors far deeper than I could ever anticipate. The figure blocking our path stepped forward, and in the dim light, I could make out the gleam of familiar eyes that pierced through the shadowy veil. It was Thomas, a trusted confidant of Henry, known for his cunning and duplicity. My heart plummeted. Having him here felt like doom knocking at the door. What are you doing here? The woman's voice turned steely, her resolve unshaken despite the flicker of fear in her eyes. Looking for you, of course, Thomas replied with a smirk that didn't reach his eyes. You know the king has ears everywhere. What kind of fool do you take me for to think you could simply escape? I could feel the woman beside me tense, her grip on my arm tightening. It was clear she viewed Thomas as a formidable threat. We are not here to harm anyone, Thomas. We seek the truth, and you of all people should understand how valuable that can be. Valuable. He scoffed, stepping closer, the gleam in his gaze turning predatory. You mistake recklessness for value. And your quest for truth has already painted a target on your back. The king is restless, and his wrath is not something to be toyed with. In that moment, a wave of desperation surged through me, mingling with the determination that had ignited my resolve. You would betray your own. For secrets that could change lives, Thomas chuckled, the sound devoid of warmth. I abandon nothing. I weigh my options. And right now, I see an opportunity. He paused, glancing between us. What if I told you I could help you? That your chase after the child could lead to something much more beneficial. I felt the woman's tension transmit like electricity through my arm. We will not be pawns in your game, Thomas. But you already are. He leaned even closer, and the scent of ambition clung to him like shadow. Imagine this: reveal the truth about the king, expose his darkest secrets, and you could be heralded as heroes. You would be welcomed, even, heroes? I echoed incredulously, my pulse racing. Or merely tools for your ambitions? Perhaps both, he replied smoothly, the corners of his lips curling mockingly. But the choice is yours. The king knows of your inquiries. He is watching, waiting. Come with me, and he'll show you that your gilded legacy won't matter if you're silenced tonight. A thundering sense of betrayal rippled through me. Trust twisted into a tangled web, leaving me to grapple with impossible choices. I recalled the fragile hope we had spoken of just moments ago. What proof do we have that you'll honor your word? I pressed, unwilling to show the rising tide of vulnerability within. He smiled, displaying a hint of menace. Proof. The castle is filled with whispers and witnesses. I could lead you to them, people who know what the king has done. But there's a steep price for betrayal. The air thickened in the alcove, the weight of moral dilemma crashing down around us. Could we trust a man who danced dangerously close to the edge of loyalty? I stole a glance at the woman beside me, searching for a spark of hope in her fierce eyes. We need to go, she murmured, breaking my reverie. We cannot rely on him. Scars run deeper than mere words of loyalty. Or, Thomas interjected smoothly, you could seize power yourself by revealing what you find. The child holds the key. Without him, your struggle is in vain. What do you mean? I asked, my voice trembling with unease. What more could this child possibly represent? A shadow of uncertainty clouded Thomas' face, and I could see the gears turning in his mind. You are more naive than I thought. He is not just a symbol, he carries the strength of an ancient lineage that even Henry cannot kill. Silence thickened in the air, the weight of unspoken truths hanging heavily between us. I glanced at the woman again, caught in a moment of realization. The implications of his words cascaded through my mind like falling leaves. If this child was so critical, then his safety was paramount. What do you really seek, Thomas? She countered, her fierce determination unwavering. Is it power you desire or merely survival? Suddenly, a loud crash interrupted our tense negotiation. Echoes bounding off the walls, forcing us to jerk back to reality. They've found us. I whispered urgently, fear gripping my throat. Without another second to spare, I pulled my resolve tight. We will expose Henry, I declared, both a promise to the child and a summons for action. We will find allies and make this chaos our strength, but your game ends here, Thomas. His smirk faded, replaced by a glimmer of menace mixed with forced admiration. So be it. But I hope you realize the depth of the shadows you are wading into. The truth, the real truth, can burn. With panic igniting within me, I took the woman's hand, and together we rushed past Thomas. Fear surged as the chaos around us grew, an army of whispers igniting behind us. As we sprinted through the labyrinthine halls, an unexpected warm embrace surrounded me in the form of an old servant, her weathered hands grasping mine. There has been hope here long hidden, she whispered urgently, glancing fearfully behind us. Trust in the light, it will guide you, her words wrapped around my heart. Yet as we dashed onward, I felt the shadows closing in, a chilling reminder of the consequences waiting in the wings. As we reached a corridor leading deeper into the castle, another crash echoed from afar, louder this time. I spun around, and just as darkness enveloped us, I glimpsed a flash of a child's silhouette at the end of the hallway, innocent yet unsettling, a harbinger of the secrets buried within the stone walls that surrounded us, and with it came a dreadful urge to find out who this child was. Was he truly the key to unraveling the storm brewing beneath Henry's reign, or just another layer of the treachery that could lead to our undoing? We darted down the corridor, my heart pounding like a war drum in my chest. The old servant's prophecy echoed in my mind, trust in the light. But as glimmers of hope danced under the weight of Thomas' words, fear carved deep lines of doubt into my resolve. Was this child truly a beacon, or merely a trap laid by fate? The silhouette flickered again, and the haunting resemblance to the child we sought sent a shiver down my spine. "Wait!" I called out, halting abruptly. The woman beside me stumbled slightly, her eyes wide with concern. "What are you doing?" "We have to keep moving," she urged, her voice barely above a whisper. "There's something in that shadow," I replied, gazing intently down the dimly lit passageway. "We can't leave without knowing." She hesitated for only a heartbeat, then nodded, her determination reigniting as we cautiously edged forward. The closer we approached, the more the figure coalesced from the dark mist of uncertainty, revealing a child standing alone with eyes that sparkled like emeralds. But it wasn't just innocence. I perceived it was something much deeper, something that spoke of resilience against cruel destinies. "Who are you?" I asked softly, crouching to meet his gaze. "What are you doing here?" "I'm waiting for you," he said, his voice eerily calm, betraying none of the fear that laced the air around us. The confidence in his words was unsettling, and my heartbeat quickened again as I studied his small frame clad in worn clothing. "What do you mean?" The woman's question dripped with urgency, her forehead creased in confusion. "The king is searching for you," the child stated, as if reciting a lesson known by heart. "He fears you know too much, that you could free us." "Time is short." "Free us?" I repeated, the implications twisting like a knife in my gut. "What do you know about freedom?" "I know that I am not alone," he replied, glancing over his shoulder as though feeling the ghosts of past conversations ripple through the air. "There are others hidden in the cracks of this castle, people willing to fight against him." My mind raced with questions while the shadows lurked ever closer. Could there be a network of allies trapped within these stone walls, bound by fear and silence? "Show us," the woman demanded, now entirely focused on the child. "Lead us to them," but before he could respond, the faint sound of thunderous footsteps echoed from a distant corridor. Panic ignited anew, and the child's eyes widened. "You must hurry. The guards are coming." I grabbed the woman's hand tightly, and with a determined glance exchanged between us, we took off down the corridor, the child sprinting ahead of us with surprising agility. The hallways twisted like a serpent, each turn unveiling unsettling reflections of the people we'd left behind, their murmured fears and anguished hopes whispering through the walls. "You should know," the child said breathlessly, glancing back as we rounded another corner. "The king is hiding a secret far greater than you think, the truth about my family." My heart seized again at the mention of family. Could he be connected to the lineage Thomas spoke of? "What do you know?" I demanded, urgency clawing at my chest. "More than Thomas could ever hope to learn," he replied cryptically, a faint smile tugging at his lips as we burst through a heavy door into an abandoned chamber, its once grand decor now swallowed by dust and echoes of forgotten lives. As we entered the room, the child pointed to a faded tapestry that hung limply against the wall, depicting a family crest entwined with intertwining vines, an emblem that seemed achingly familiar. "This is where we gather. Here, we dream of the world beyond Henry's reach." The sight roared a clarity within me, an invocation of all of our discussions and hopes. If the child held the key to his lineage, then we could expose not just the king's sins but the roots of his tyranny itself. Suddenly, the door creaked ominously as it shuddered against the weight of approaching fate, the sound echoing like a funeral dirge. My breath hitched as the reality of our precarious situation crashed into focus. We had chased hope into a trap, each heartbeat resonating like a countdown to impending chaos. In that instant, the child's demeanor shifted. "They're coming. We can't afford to be caught." His voice tremored with urgency, and his small hands gestured toward a hidden passageway behind the tapestry, a slender chance of escape. Just as we moved towards the exit, a powerful crash shook the door behind us, and the shadowy figures of the guards spilled into the room like ink smeared across a page, relentless and merciless. An echo of desperation clawed at me, but there was no turning back. Terror had become our only companion. "Go!" I shouted to the woman as we pushed the child toward the narrow passage. "We'll find our way out," but as she turned to take the child's hand, a twist of fate halted us. The guards had paused, their cruel laughter spilling into the air as one of them shouted, "The king desires the boy alive." I felt my stomach drop. The child wasn't merely a part of this conflict, was a pawn in a game far more dangerous than we had anticipated. "What have they done to you?" I whispered, dread slithering around my heart. And as the guards closed in, the child turned to face us, eyes filled with a mix of terror and bravery that struck me like thunder. "You must find the truth, no matter the cost. Protect each other." Before I could grasp what he meant, the guards surged forward, and, in an instant, shadows swallowed the hope we had fought to hold. I clutched the woman tightly, my mind racing a tempest of confusion and dread as chaos erupted around us. The clash of metal rang loud, drowning out the child's final words. Suddenly, the truth felt like a blade poised to slice through the fragile fabric of our resolve, leaving us at the mercy of a world yearning to keep its secrets buried, and we, too, were swallowed by the darkness once more. The air thickened with a suffocating mixture of dust and desperation as chaos erupted around us. The guards surged forward, their fierce faces illuminated by the fading light. I held on to the woman, whose grip was as tight as my own, fear making us both tremble. With a fierce rush, we darted into the narrow passage the child had revealed. The earthy scent of damp stone filled my lungs as I pushed us deeper into the shadows. Behind us, the boisterous cries of the guards echoed, cutting through the silence like knives, a maddening reminder of the perils that loomed just beyond the thin barrier of stone. "Where do we go from here?" The woman gasped, her voice laced with panic as we crawled forward, the darkness pressing in like a heavy blanket. "Forward," I replied, trying to sound more resolute than I felt. Had we really found a way to escape, or had we merely traded one prison for another? "We need to find the others," the child spoke of. The passage twisted and turned, a serpent winding through the depths of the castle. Each footfall echoed in my mind, a dissonant symphony of fear and hope. My heart raced, a relentless drum echoing the urgency that pulsed through our veins. Moments turned into minutes as we crawled through the cramped space, desperation heightening our senses. Suddenly, I stopped, my breath caught in my throat. There, perched on the cold stone wall, a flickering light beckoned us further. "Do you see that?" I whispered, barely able to contain my excitement. The small flame flickered like a heartbeat, illuminating what appeared to be an opening ahead. "Yes," the woman replied, hope igniting her features. "Let's go." We sprinted toward the glimmer, slipping out of the passage and into a much larger chamber. My jaw dropped at the sight. The room was filled with flickering torches, their flames dancing wildly against the stone walls. In the center, a motley group of men and women huddled together, their expressions a mix of weariness and unyielding determination. "Who are they?" the woman asked, pressing her shoulder against mine as we stepped fully into the light. "Those who bleed for freedom," said a voice from the shadows. A tall figure emerged, a coarse mane of hair framing his grizzled face. Gideon. "Welcome, if you could call it that. We're here to help," I said, urgency spilling from my lips. "We just escaped the guards." "There's a child told us, Jasper," Gideon interrupted, his voice filling the room with a heavy weight, the name resonating like a doom. "We know him. He's one of ours." There was a shared grief in the room, a collective sorrow that felt like a suffocating fog. "He's in danger," I continued, my heart racing. "They want him alive. We have to protect him." Gideon's eyes flickered with determination. "The king won't stop until he has Jasper. We've heard whispers that the boy knows a truth that could unravel Henry's very existence, a secret so powerful that the whole realm could change." Fear gripped me. What could a child possibly know that would warrant such grave action? "What is it?" "It speaks of bloodlines long thought extinguished," Gideon said grimly. "Of alliances and betrayals that could shake the foundations of this kingdom. We must find him before the king's guards do." But just as I felt hope rising, a tremor rattled the room. The torches flickered violently, and a pair of guards stormed through an entrance on the far side. Their faces were masked by shadows, but I could see the unmistakable hunger for vengeance in their eyes. "Everyone, hide!" I shouted, but my warning came too late. The air filled with the clash of steel on steel as the guards lunged for Gideon and the others with ferocity. That I gripped the woman's hand, pulling her close. "We need to move," I shouted, but just then, something caught my eye. A scrap of paper lay abandoned on the stone floor, half covered in shadows. In a moment of recklessness, I grabbed it, shoving it into my pocket without a second thought. "Come on. We dashed for the opposite side of the room, but confusion erupted as more guards filed in behind us, their numbers overwhelming the feeble defenses that it was. Chaos. Caught in the fray, I caught a glimpse of the wide-eyed faces of the other rebels, each one a portrait of desperation, and a sinking realization weighed on my heart. Those who had dared to stand against the king were not mere dreamers but parents, siblings, friends who risked everything for others. But just as we turned to escape through another exit, a chilling laugh echoed through the chamber. You think you can evade your fate? The voice unfurled like a dark vine, winding around us with a sinister grip. A man stepped into the flickering light, a figure familiar yet twisted, cloaked in malice. Thomas, I gasped, my throat tightening with disbelief of all that had transpired. It can't be you. Yes, it is, he smirked, the flickering illumination casting playful shadows across his face. Did you really believe I wouldn't follow? You've wandered far from home, my dear friend. Just as confusion gripped my mind, he spoke the words that sent a shockwave through my very being. You are more connected to the truth of this castle than you can imagine. Your blood ties run deeper than you know, and Jasper is merely the beginning. And just like that, another secret unfurled before me, shoving open a door I had not dared to consider. My legs felt weak beneath me as I absorbed his revelation. The siren of possibilities sang in a chaotic symphony, and once more, the cliff of uncertainty loomed closer than ever. Thomas, what do you mean? I whispered, dread refusing to loosen its grip on my heart as I prepared to face whatever awaited me below, and at that moment, my fate danced precariously on the edge of an awful truth yet to be revealed. The shadows seemed to melt around Thomas, twisting the air into an oppressive haze as I tried to process what he had just revealed. The weight of his words pressed down on my shoulders, making it difficult to breathe. What do you know about my bloodline? I managed, forcing the question through the rising tide of panic. That he stepped closer, the glint in his eyes betraying both mischief and malice. Your mother, my dear friend, was no ordinary maiden. She was chosen for greater things, and her lineage has ties that weave through the very foundation of this castle. His voice dripped with a dangerous allure, and I struggled to stand my ground. You're not just a pawn in this game, part of something much larger. Enough. I shouted, my heart pounding as I glanced around the room. Chaos reigned, the guards were spilling in like a tempest, blades clashing against the resistance. All the weary faces I had seen moments before now wore expressions of fear and defiance, and I realized they were fighting for more than just their lives. They fought for hope, a hope I could hardly grasp amidst the revelation of my own identity, but Thomas smirked, feeding on the turmoil unfolding around us. They'll fall, you know. It's only a matter of time before Henry's army crushes this rebellion, and when they do, you'll either join them or lose everything. No. I stammered, digging deep for courage. I won't let that happen. Not to Jasper, not to anyone. Then you should give me what I want, he replied, the intensity in his voice turning malignant. Help me reveal the truth about your mother, and I might just spare your precious little revolution. Otherwise. He leaned in closer, the edges of his grin curling like sharp thorns. You'll watch them all perish. Emotions whirled within me: betrayal, anger, fear, and hollow despair. I had once called this man a friend. We had shared laughter, secrets of youth, evenings where dreams danced before us like fireflies. But seeing him now, I knew those moments were forever lost, replaced by a stark reality woven from greed and manipulation. Get away from her. A voice thundered from behind, a figure cutting through the chaos like a ship through stormy seas. It was Gideon, drawing close with resolve etched across his brow. I felt a rush of gratitude for his presence, a thread of hope within the gathering darkness. Before Thomas could react, Gideon lunged forward, aiming for that deceitful grin. Their bodies collided with a jarring clash, but in a heartbeat, the tide of chaos washed Gideon backward. The guards surged like a tide, leaving a path of locked arms and glistening steel in their wake. Run! Gideon yelled, but as I stepped to flee, something stopped me, a fear that permeated the air, chilling the very marrow in my bones. My instincts screamed at me to ignore the looming shadows deep within this chamber and to focus on escape, to protect the vulnerable lives at risk. Wait. I turned back to Thomas, desperate for a lingering shred of the friendship that once was. "What is this secret you're keeping about my mother? Why should I trust you?" He laughed, but it had a hollow ring, as if he, too, was caught in the web of this storm. "Because, my friend, your mother was perhaps the only one capable of bringing both light and dark into this world." His expression shifted, revealing an emotion buried deep regret, perhaps. "Think on that, and know my offer still stands." A shiver raced through me. What does that even mean? But the moment was gone. Guards swarmed the room, and so did Gideon, pushing me toward an adjoining corridor. "We have to go now." As we bolted into the narrow passage, the flickering light dimmed behind us, echoing the uncertainty of what lay ahead. But something sharp bit at my memory. The piece of paper I had snatched from the chamber earlier, lodged securely in my pocket. My fingers brushed against its surface, igniting a flicker of hope amidst the brewing storm. "Gideon, I found something!" I cried, but my voice felt like a whisper against the wild clamor of battle that blurred everything else. A fabric of frantic movement, fear, and threadbare courage. Later, he barked, urgency propelling us forward. We pressed deeper into the bowels of the castle, further from the chaos, yet closer to the unraveling truth. I could feel the pulse of my blood racing, the clamor of uncertainty ricocheting in my mind. "You still need to know what's coming for you," he added, eyes flickering with a grim understanding. An acrid smell of dampness hung in the air, and as we skidded to a pause in a flickering lit chamber, despair clawed its way back into my heart. Around us were walls adorned with forgotten carvings, images of battles long past. But what struck me most was the massive tapestry hanging from the far wall, its embroidery vibrant yet ominous. I approached it slowly, heart racing as my finger traced the thread patterns. It depicted a lineage that sent chills down my spine, one I now understood I was woven into. Faces that mirrored mine shone brightly amidst the fabric, a woman with fierce eyes and a knowing smile. It was then that I felt a tightening knot in my chest. "This is my mother," I breathed, scarcely able to comprehend the magnitude of what I had uncovered. "Stay focused," Gideon urged, his brow knitted with concern. "We must keep moving or the guards will find us." But before I could respond, a distant rumble echoed through the stone halls, shaking the ground beneath us. My heart galloped. What was that? What are they doing? A grim realization flickered across Gideon's features. "They're preparing to unleash something upon the castle that could change everything." No. I gasped, but it was too late. The echoing rumble morphed into something much worse. Sound like thunder, like the rushing tide of an awakening storm. "Run!" he shouted, pulling me away from the tapestry, but now a new horror unfurled within me. This wasn't about my mother, or even about Jasper. The revelation of my bloodline felt like a spark, illuminating a path laden with shadows yet to be unfolded, a path that beckoned me deeper into the twisted legacy of my past and into the heart of a conflict far grander than I ever imagined. As we raced through the darkened corridor, the world felt alive with the buzzing uncertainty of choices I had yet to make. But with every step we took, it felt as if the truth was closing in, enveloping us in a darkness that whispered of fate, of bonds yet unbroken, and of a future dangling by a fragile thread unbeknownst to any of us. Then, just as we neared what appeared to be an exit, the ground tremored again, and a deafening crash shattered the moment. The room began to collapse, sending debris cascading toward us like rain, but before I could scream, an image formed among the rubble, an unthinkable realization that sent my heart racing anew. The paper I had pocketed, the secret I had chosen to ignore, began to slip free, tumbling toward the shifting stones as if it were beckoning me to seize the chaos and twist it into strength. And in that fleeting moment, as the darkness consumed us, I understood if I didn't grasp hold of this truth, neither Jasper nor any glimmer of hope for freedom would remain. The stone beneath my feet sputtered and cracked, debris raining down like quilted memories ready to bury me alive. I reached for the paper just as it skidded across the floor, its edges threatening to disappear into the expanding shadow created by the structural collapse. Fear roared in my ears, matching the chaos swirling around us. "Grab it!" Gideon yelled, his voice swallowed by the tumult, but my focus narrowed down to that singular object, a lifeline in the chaos. I lunged, fingertips making contact with the cool surface, and, with that simple act, a flicker of clarity ignited in my heart. The secrets would not be lost, not now. As I clutched the paper, I could feel its weight, a promise yet unfulfilled. With an instinctual motion, I shoved it into my pocket, untouched by the storm that enveloped us both physically and emotionally. I joined Gideon's side as he fought against the falling rocks, muscles straining against the pressure of imminent doom. Move! He shouted, pulling me through a crumbling archway, miraculously leading us away from the danger. The air thickened with dust, wrapping around us as we stumbled into a narrow corridor that twisted in upon itself, blanketed in darkness, our sole refuge from the chaos of the collapsing chamber. Breathless, I pressed my back against the cool stone wall, trying to calm my racing heart. What now? I gasped, my voice hoarse and raw. Gideon's eyes were wide and searching. We need to find a way out, and then we can figure out what the paper means. I nodded, a firm resolve igniting within me. We can't just run. If there are hidden truths about my mother and my bloodline, we owe it to those fighting for their lives to uncover the truth. Your mother? Gideon said, surprise tinging his voice. What do you mean? What did Thomas reveal to you? He said she was part of something bigger. That her blood ties are woven into the castle's very foundation. I stuttered, each word heavy with the weight of bewilderment. The tapestry I had seen was hauntingly vivid in my mind, pulling at the edges of my thoughts. Listen, for now, we have to focus on surviving, Gideon insisted, urgency cracking through his calm exterior. But even as he spoke, his gaze betrayed a concern as deep as any I had ever seen. I could feel that he was wrestling with something of his own. What aren't you telling me? I pressed, the words tumbling from my lips. You know more than you're letting on. He hesitated, and, in that brief moment, vulnerability flickered across his features like a candle wrestling against the dark. I do, but I need you to trust me first. I'll explain everything when we're safe. Before I could probe deeper, the corridor twisted before us, opening into a large chamber shrouded in darkness, a chilling reminder of the unknown fate awaiting us. But as we stepped inside, a flicker of light emerged from the space, a promise of safety or another snare waiting to catch us in its web. Stay close, Gideon whispered, his hand tightening around my wrist, guiding me closer. As we forged ahead, the light grew brighter, illuminating an altar adorned with burning candles, their flames dancing in rhythm with our racing hearts. Yet what drew my attention most was a pedestal at the center of this sacred space, an intricate box resting upon it. Do you see that? I murmured, the blood rushing in my ears. Something about it felt ancient. What do you think it is? Gideon stepped forward carefully, the unease settling in the air between us. I don't know, but it's surrounded by strangeness, like it has its own heartbeat. Drawing closer, I could feel an unexplainable connection. My heart raced in tandem with the pulsing energy radiating from it, beckoning me to draw near. But just as I reached out for the box, a chilling realization struck me. Had if it contained answers, but also a gate to something darker. As though reading my mind, Gideon's hand shot out, lightly gripping my shoulder. I feel it too. But be cautious. Whatever secrets are hidden inside, they're tied to your bloodline, and so much more than we have to know. I insisted. If we can unlock its secrets, we can understand what threat we face from Henry and Thomas. That I drew in a deep breath, steadying myself despite the rings of panic tightening like chains around my resolve. Hands trembling, I lifted the lid of the box, a creaking echo resonating through the chamber. Inside, it was filled with rolled parchments and an objet d'art that looked like an old, tarnished compass, its needle spinning aimlessly, and with it, a whisper of anticipation wrapped around me. But as I rummaged through the papers, my fingers froze. Scanned across the documents, one in particular pulled me in, the words crystallizing into reality. Your mother's prophecy, she foresaw a betrayal from within. The key to the future lies in unaltered blood. The moment latched onto me tighter than any chains. What did it mean? My mind swirled with questions, and just as I opened my mouth to voice them, the ground rumbled again. The shadows lurking outside the chamber door grew thicker, whispering promises of danger, inching closer against the light we had found. Gideon, we're running out of time. I managed to say, panic surging anew. But he stepped in closer, determination blazing in his eyes. We need to decipher these scrolls. If there's even the slightest chance we can turn the tide, we must fight to unveil your mother's truth." Without warning, the chamber door burst open, framed by silhouettes cloaked in darkness, eyes glinting with a predatory vigor. The guards had found us. "Run!" Gideon shouted, shoving me out of the way just as the first blade sliced through the fabric of our sanctuary. The room erupted into chaos once more, swirling shadows threatening to consume us, leaving only the faint echo of my mother's cryptic prophecy, a scarlet thread that could either save or shatter everything I knew. As I sprinted past the looming armed figures, my heart thundered in my chest, pulsing with dread, but now also with the knowledge that hidden truths awaited to be uncovered if I could grasp them in time. And with each step, I felt the haunting question echo within me: would I possess the heart to reveal those secrets, or would I only draw the shadows closer, trapping us all in the darkness they thrived in? The air thickened with tension as the guards stormed into the chamber, their swords glinting under the flickering light. My pulse quickened, the weight of the parchment a tangible echo of my mother's prophecy heavy in my pocket. I barely registered Gideon's desperate movements beside me, his presence anchoring me even amid the chaos. "Stay focused," he shouted, his voice a beacon amidst the clamor. "We need to make it to that corridor before they close us in." We surged forward, dodging past the first wave of armed figures. I could see the shadows dancing on the walls, mocking us as we fought against the inevitability of being caught. With each step towards the corridor, the voices from outside the chamber crescendoed, reverberating off the stone walls, threatening to drown out everything else. And then I remembered, the box, the contents within, the prophecy that sliced through my reality like a sword. Would it offer us salvation or doom? The thought flared in my mind, a paralyzing mix of fear and determination. Suddenly, I stumbled over a loose stone, crashing to the ground, pain lancing through my knee. Panic surged as I turned to see Gideon still pushing forward, a fierce look of resolve etched on his features. But something inside me broke, a small tremor of despair. Would I stand by and watch him fight alone? "Gideon!" I shouted, my voice piercing through the chaos. "Go. I'll catch up." He hesitated, fear flickering in his eyes as he met mine. "No. I won't leave you behind, just find the truth," I implored, desperation lacing my words. "I need you to understand what's at stake. I'll be right behind you." With one last lingering glance filled with concern, Gideon turned and sprinted toward the narrow passage, his figure swallowed by the inky dark almost before I could blink. I breathed deeply, digging into the silent pit of resolve that lay within me, drawing strength from the chaos surrounding us. The guards advanced, looming like shadows, their faces darkened by their implacable intent. I needed to move, to escape this prison of fear, and uncover the truth coded in the parchment. But I couldn't run, not yet, not until I could protect what was left of my mother's legacy. Girlish fantasies had quickly turned into a nightmare, and visions of betrayal twisted in my gut. The first guard lunged at me, sword raised, and I instinctively rolled to the side, the glinting blade narrowly missing my shoulder as it collided with the stone wall behind me. I managed to scramble to my feet, adrenaline surging as I faced the next assailant. Then suddenly, amidst the clashing steel and panic, a figure stepped into view, a woman cloaked in deep emerald fabric, her hair coiling around her face. It was Mirabelle, a healer and supposed ally I'd only hear whispers about throughout the castle. "In here." She beckoned urgently, gesturing toward a hidden alcove shrouded in shadows. I hesitated, unsure if I could trust her. Another heavy thud echoed in the chamber, drawing the guards closer. Sensing my uncertainty, she added, "We don't have much time. If they catch you with that scroll, it could destroy everything." Her words pierced through my hesitation, and I realized the gravity of my situation. I darted toward her, my heart pounding as I slipped into the alcove just as another guard burst through, his voice a snarl of frustration. "Where did she go?" he demanded, his eyes narrowing as he searched the chamber. Mirabelle pressed her finger to her lips, a signal for silence. I could barely breathe, the air was thick, oppressive. I could hear my heart thudding in my ears, stark against the quiet that surrounded us. "Who are you?" I whispered, trying to push aside the fear clawing at my insides. "An ally," she replied softly, glancing toward the crack between the stones, her face taut with worry. "You're in terrible danger. The castle is rife with betrayal. Henry's men are not just your anemothire after the bloodline you carry." "Betrayal?" I repeated, confusion swirling around me. "What are you talking about? Your mother's legacy runs deep. There are forces wanting to keep the truth buried," she explained, her voice trembling slightly. "I risked everything to warn you. You must be vigilant. The compass in that box, it holds more than you imagine. It can lead you to the answers and perhaps to safety." The weight of her words settled heavy in my chest. "Gideon, I need to find him. If I lose him too, I don't know what he'll do." Mirabelle's gaze softened, a hint of understanding igniting behind her worry. "He's resilient. If he escapes the storm ahead, he will find you. Trust in him. Your bloodline is stronger than you realize." As she spoke, the cacophony outside intensified, and the thudding footsteps grew louder. In that moment of terrifying uncertainty, I held on to the thought that maybe, just maybe, hope was not far behind the despair. But then the walls trembled again, and a thunderous crash erupted, splitting the air long enough for panic to reignite within me. The alcove shuddered, a surge of dust and debris spilling through the crevice as the guards descended upon us with reckless abandon. "Mirabelle!" I gasped, eyes widening in terror. "We must go," she cried urgently, fear flashing across her face. Now, just as we turned to escape, a blinding light erupted from within the alcove, a deep-seated brilliance that poured over us like liquid fire, igniting the shadows in a luminous embrace. My breath caught in my throat. It was as though the compass within the box had awakened, calling forth its secrets to the surface, but before we could comprehend what was unfolding, a hand shot out of the flame, grabbing mine with an iron grip, pulling me closer. The world around me spun as the blinding radiance consumed everything, and I suddenly found myself torn between the chaos of the collapsing chamber and the warmth of something utterly eternal. Were we to step into the unknown, or were we to be swallowed whole by the secrets this ancient place had preserved through the ages? As my vision blurred, the image of Gideon's determined face flashed before me, echoing the promise of loyalty. But before clarity could take hold, a shocking revelation struck me, the one fear I had suppressed. What if Gideon's trust was the very key to my undoing? And then, everything faded to darkness. When consciousness flickered back to me, it was as though I had been pulled from a dream, a vivid tapestry of colors and shadows, lingering with whispers of truth and doom. I sat up, disoriented and gasping, amid a bed of soft moss and grass that cradled me like a gentle embrace. Looking around, I found myself in a dimly lit grove, far removed from the chaos of the castle's corridors. Mirabelle knelt beside me, her emerald cloak swirling like the depths of an emerald sea. "You're awake." Relief flooded her face, though it was laced with urgency. "We don't have much time. What happened?" I pressed, still grappling with the surreal ebb of my surroundings. "The compass," she said, pointing toward the pulsing artifact resting on the forest floor, the light still shimmering, casting an ethereal glow across the grove. "It sensed your presence and created a passage. But we can't stay. The guards will follow us here. I have to find Gideon." The words burst out of me, fueled by a torrent of fear and anxiety. He could be in danger. "We need to go back, listen to me." Mirabelle's voice lowered, fierce yet supportive. "You can't go back now. If you do, you'll step right into a trap set by those who seek to end your bloodline. We can't let them win." Fury surged as I grappled with her insistence. "You don't understand. He's out there, he's my only ally. I can't abandon him." Mirabelle's eyes bore into mine, a fire igniting within their depths. "You think you're the only one fighting for him? I've seen what your bloodline can do, the loyalty it can command, the desperation it can inspire. But true power isn't reliant on one person. You have to be willing to rethink the approach, to forge new alliances." The grove whispered secrets around us, urging me to listen. I could almost hear Gideon's voice echo in the back of my mind, invincible and steadfast. But in the echoes of left-behind moments lay the weight of doubt. What if every path forward led to splitting us apart instead of bringing us together? "Why are you risking your life to help me?" I demanded, my heart racing with the implications of her answer, because, like you, I know the depths of betrayal. I lost those I loved not to enemies, but to betrayal from within. The castle I knew turned to ashes, just like your world is in danger of doing now, she replied, her voice trembling ever so slightly. It is easier to pull on our heartstrings when we're fragile. In moments of peril, we reveal who we truly are. You must find who you are, too. Her words settled in the air like a heavy fog, rolling into the deepest corners of my uncertainty. If I am to do this, if I am to trust you, then show me the way. I want to find Gideon, but not with blind faith. I want truth. Mirabelle's expression softened. Then let us start with where this compass points. Within lies your mother's legacy, and it might just hold the answers needed to unravel the plots encircling your fate. That I nodded, and we approached the shimmering object, its light pulsating like a heartbeat, as if it too understood the gravity of its purpose. As I reached down to pick it up, the vision of Gideon's face flickered across my consciousness, igniting the resolve deep within me. Suddenly, the tranquil hush of the grove was shattered by the piercing sound of shouts. Distant voices echoed through the trees like demons calling, unyielding and relentless. My stomach twisted as fear clawed at the edges of my resolve. They're closing in on us. Mirabelle breathed, a grim urgency threading her tone. We must go now. Where? I pressed, clutching the compass, a talisman of hope in one hand and despair in the other. To an ally of mine. He lives beyond the borders of this cursed castle. His name is Thomas, and he might know more about the prophecy and be able to help Gideon. As we dashed into the depths of the enlarging shadows, I could feel the forest pressing against me, imprisoning our escape with the sinuous grasp of tight branches. Each step was laced with the agonizing uncertainty of what lay ahead, yet the fire of determination fueled my feet forward. In my heart, the hope flickered, but in the back of my mind, the nagging fear whispered one thing: what if I was leading myself toward the clutches of betrayal yet unknown? With every step we took into the dark embrace of the trees, I braced for the choice that would alter the course of my life again. And then, as if living in a nightmare, a bone-chilling fear gripped my chest. A memory surfaced of Gideon's last warning before he sprinted away into chaos. The truth can turn friend into foe. Before I could think, twisting dread blossomed. Could the next ally we sought be the very betrayal our hearts dreaded? A shadow dashed across the grove, and I froze, heart pounding, as a figure stepped out of the darkness, unmistakably familiar, cloaked in secrets I never wanted to face. Mara, the voice breathed, each syllable staining the air with a mixture of loneliness and dread. You should have never left without me. It was Gideon, his voice tense, a reflection of my hopes yet, wrapped in the foreboding hug of uncertainty. At the very moment I craved his strength most, could he still be trusted? The momentum of my life spiraled as his eyes caught mine, revealing shadows where there had been trust just hours ago. With a decision hanging between us, I knew the choice to trust could be the very thing to either shatter us apart or bind us forever. Gideon's presence felt like a lifeline cast in turbulent waters, and instinctively my heart surged with relief. But the shadows that danced behind his eyes weighed heavily on my chest, reminding me that trust was a fragile construct in a world laden with betrayals. The ache in my gut grew as I recalled his earlier warnings. Mara, Gideon's voice cut through the haze of confusion, his gaze penetrating but wrought with urgency. You cannot trust anyone, not even me. Not now. Those words pierced me deeper than the blade of a sword. They unfurled a reality I had fought to avoid, an acknowledgement that the very essence of loyalty could morph into a weapon, slicing through bonds once thought unbreakable. What do you mean I can't trust you? I pressed, alarm and disbelief threadbare in my voice. You risked everything for me. Perhaps I shouldn't have, he shot back, frustration rippling through him. The whispers among the guards carry tales that you've left a trail of intrigue, and not in your favor. My pulse quickened at the implication. Moments of camaraderie twisted into a noose of disloyalty tightening around me. Gideon. We've fought side by side against a common enemy. Yes, he replied bitterly, the fabric of his resolve fraying at the edges. But fate is fickle, Mara. The lines between friend and foe blur in the shadows of ambition. You carry a legacy that can either save us or doom us to ruin. His words ignited flames of uncertainty, casting flickers of disquiet within me. Yet beneath that tempest lies a flicker of hope, a warning perhaps, spurring me to awaken. My mother believed in something greater. She left clues, and I want to abandon that quest. The tension thickened, wrapping around us, but Gideon's steely gaze softened as he looked at me. Then we have to be careful. Mirabelle warned you. Thomas the Compassit can guide us. But the path ahead is rife with dangers we haven't begun to fathom. I nodded, the compass warm between my fingers, thrumming with potential. What if he knows about the prophecy? What if he has the missing pieces? Gideon hesitated, uncertainty flickering across his features. There's more to Thomas than he lets on. If we approach him, we must ensure we're ready for deception at every corner. He knows how to play both sides. Then we'll have to be better, I resolved, the weight of past trust shaping my demeanor. Mirabelle feels I'm meant for this, for something beyond the reach of Henry's darkness. Together, we can uncover the truth. Just as I spoke, the distant cries of guards pierced the stillness, warning us that time was racing against us. We have to move. I urged, pulling Gideon along as we navigated back through the shadows toward the promise of safety. As we broke through the tree-line, re-entering the deeper forest, I felt the pulse of destiny quicken beneath our feet. The compass thrummed, guiding us like a flame dances to its source. Now, all pieces set aside, we pursued a path that summoned answers, foreshadowing a reckoning I could not yet grasp. In the distance, through the colonnades of trees, a flicker of light beckoned USA's safe haven perhaps or another snare. Gideon, keep your eyes sharp, I murmured, my voice barely above a whisper as we approached the clearing, the light growing brighter, casting dancing shadows around us. As our eyes adjusted, we rushed into the warmth of the light and there stood Thomas, as if he had awaited our arrival, the shadows weaving around him like a cloak of ancient machinations. Ah, my dear Mara and Gideon, he greeted, a hint of smug satisfaction painting his smile. Did you bring gifts from the dark? The tension erupted, swirling as we struggled to navigate the volatile landscape of secrets and deception. What have you done? Gideon demanded, stepping forward, fists clenched. You've played this game long enough, it's time to show your true face. I felt the clash of arguments bubbling like a storm ready to burst. But I was no longer the naive girl who had once admired the charisma possessed by Thomas. I know who you are, Thomas, and you're not to be trusted, I asserted, my voice unwavering. Like a rock in the sea of chaos. What do you really want? He chuckled, an unsettling sound against the backdrop of anticipation. Ah, but you're right and wrong. It's about so much more than you realize. Your mother carried the weight of a prophecy, and I hold its key. The compass you have, it can lead to more than just answers, it can overthrow a kingdom. My heart raced at his admission. Then guide us, Thomas. But know this: betrayals disguised as allies will not be tolerated. We cannot allow you to control this narrative. The heartbeat of the universe shifted around us, a deep energy thrumming to life in acknowledgement of my declaration. In this emotional sphere, I realized the stakes had heightened. The clash between the light of loyalty and the shadows of betrayal stood stark before me, but it was the truth, a flicker of clarity that began to illuminate the pathway through the tangled thickets of fate. Very well, Thomas replied, the mischief still lacing his tone. Let us venture forth. The secret lies beyond the horizon, waiting to be seized. But deep within my being, a shadow lingered, echoing Gideon's earlier caution: the truth could ignite hope and doom. As we stepped towards an uncertain future, I clutched the compass tighter, knowing in my heart that the revelations waiting at the edge would determine the destiny of all those caught in this web of ambition. Together, we strode toward the gathering storm, their shadows trailing behind us, whispering ancient tales of betrayal and bonds yet unbroken. And through it all sang a haunting promise: what was birthed in blood and shadows carries the power to redefine the very essence of a kingdom. But with each heartbeat resonating within me, I echoed a silent vow to myself to uncover the depths of the truth, whatever consequences lay ahead. And when faced with the ghosts from the past, I would wield that truth like a lantern, beckoning forth the light that had long been swallowed by darkness. Together we are powerful, I whispered, steeling my resolve as I stepped forward into the swirling tempest to unearth what would ultimately shape our future. In that pivotal moment, the line was drawn not just between light and dark, but between betrayal and truth, a testament that one's legacy is forged not by the clutches of fate but by the choices we dare to make. The final echo of the compass fading within me mirrored my resolve as the horizon loomed ever closer, a whisper of hope amidst looming shadows, whispering that the truth, once revealed, would bring a resolution even the dead could not silence. Here is where it begins, I breathed, feeling the weight of history shifting beneath our feet. The truth will find a way.